that is how it ends here in Seattle. The 49ers, one of the most lopsided playoff losses in their history, 41-6 against the Seattle Seahawks. And if you constantly pushing the edge as this 2025 49ers team was, eventually you're going to find the edge. And there was a moment there in the third quarter where the 49ers didn't have Christian McCaffrey, didn't have Jake Tonjes. That was on top of the obvious Brandon Ayuk defection, on top of the George Kittle injury, on top of the Fred Warner loss for the season, on top of the Nick Bosa loss for the season. I mean, ultimately, the magic was going to run out, and it did against an elite Seattle opponent. We said that the 49ers were going to have to walk a tightrope to have a chance in this game, and from the very first play, kick return for Rashid Shaheed, 49ers special teams went back to 2024 mode. From the very first play, it did not happen. I'm going to move the mic a little bit closer to my mouth since I know that it's a little bit loud in here. But yes, a playoff massacre. Not the first time that this has happened in 49ers franchise history. 1986, they faced the eventual Super Bowl champion New York Giants. Joe Montana and Jerry Rice and that whole team, they lost 49-3 on the road at the Meadowlands. It didn't doom the 49ers for the rest of the 80s. They returned in 87 and had maybe the best team in football. They got the 1 seed. They lost in the playoffs. They were upset by the Minnesota Vikings in 1987, but then they won 2 Super Bowls in 1988 and 1989. And, I mean, you look at history like that and you realize, well, the 49ers were playing with house money coming into this game. They were down so many players against an elite team. They didn't get a couple of the greasy plays early to go their way. And when that happens, things can unravel. It's football. There's no reason to get overly emotional about it. Given what happened early in this game, and I'll go through some of those things, that is the expected result. But the 49ers of the 80s, they had their centerpiece, Joe Montana. Even when they lost 49-3 to the Giants, they had their centerpiece. The 49ers here of 2025, of the 2020s, they've got their centerpiece in Brock Purdy, who I thought played a very, very good game, throwing to absolutely nobody today. He was running for his life. He made something of nothing many times. The 49ers wouldn't help him today. They probably couldn't help him today because they were down so many players in this game. I mean, when it got to that point where they were missing all those guys that I pointed out just right now, even CMC was on the sideline with the stinger for a while. Purdy spun out and he hit Juwan Jennings, and it was a Houdini Superman act. He was the only player out there for the 49ers who I could say put on a plus performance, maybe outside of Christian McCaffrey, but when you're playing a juggernaut, 3 short weeks in 4 games, you're a short week coming back from Philadelphia, it happens. At the end of the day, I think the 49ers fans should be very proud of this team. Again, there are going to be emotions right now from the fan base because the journey is over, and I absolutely get it. But if there's ever a time to view things rationally and be excited to move into the offseason, it's this time, because this is probably the first time ever that the 49ers played a true house money postseason game. They finished 13-6 despite a mass injury event. This was year 1 of a roster building cycle where the 49ers won 12 games in the regular season, which was 2 games better than the Rams in 2023 when they ran a very similar roster building salary cap reset. Now that the 49ers enter year 2 of their roster building salary cap cycle, they're going to be able to spend, and they need to spend on separators. They couldn't separate for Brock Purdy today. I mean, Jake Tonjes led the way, 5 catches for 59 yards. Every single pass that Purdy threw his way was into a tight window. McCaffrey, 5 for 39. Jennings, only 2 for 23 with a drop for San Francisco in that second half, where Purdy delivered yet another Superman act. Outside of that, they didn't get anything from their wide receivers. Pearsall, not a single catch, playing hurt at the end of the season. Kendrick Bourne targeted twice at the end, not a single catch. Demarcus Robinson, 1 catch for 1 yard. I mean, they just didn't have the firepower, guys, on the outside. The Brandon Ayuk defection screwed this 49ers team. The Ricky Pearsall injury also really hurt this San Francisco team. When he dropped that pass, it would have been a tough sliding catch in the first half. That was essentially the death sentence for the 49ers. There were a couple other plays. Renardo Green got benched after there was a sack from Alec Mustafa at the start of a drive. where they had Sam Darnold in 2nd and 20. And Sam Darnold threw for what? Only 124 yards today. So it's not like that he was a massive threat through the air. But they had Sam Darnold in 2nd and 20. But Renardo Green ran the wrong coverage, bailed Sam Darnold out of that opportunity to get a stop. And the Seahawks ended up scoring on Darrell Luter Jr. in coverage as Kyle Shanahan was chewing Renardo Green out on the sideline while he was benched for a few plays. A couple drives later, the 49ers would have had a 3-and-out, but a defensive holding penalty against Jordan Elliott. And I think that it's obvious that this defense was never good enough for the 49ers to overcome game-swinging plays. Like when Jordan Elliott picks up a flag on third down, where the 49ers and D. Winters got a run stop that would have given the ball back down, 17-6? A really good, healthy, robust defense, and the 49ers hope to field that this next year. They fielded that in week 1 when they were here in Seattle, when they had Nick Bosa and Fred Warner. A good, healthy, robust defense can overcome those kind of bad breaks. But this defense was not able to overcome those. In fact, they couldn't even overcome 2nd and 20, which should have been advantageous. They gave up 3rd and long way too often this season. It was a defense ranked in the 20s after all the injuries. It is what it is. The 49ers will now enter year 2 of this salary cap build, allowing the defense to mature. C.J. West and Alfred Collins, but they both made plays today, which was big for San Francisco. That's a foundation to build on for next season. Upton Stout, the first time that the 49ers were in Seattle this year, back in week 1, Upton Stout was a liability on defense. Today, probably was their best player on defense. I would say he was their most reliable player because Diamado Lenore, he had the headbutt. That was an ugly play of Jackson Smith-Njigba. I don't think that they called a personal foul. He got away with it. But 49ers emotions that you just like their fans, the players' emotions got a little out of hand, and that's typically what happens when you lose a game 41-6. But you also typically lose a game 41-6 when your entire roster is hurt and you face an elite opponent like the Seahawks and the greasy plays early, like the kick return for Rashid Shaheed, the fumble for Jake Tonjes, and the holding penalty on Jordan Elliott don't go your way. I mean, the 49ers had to walk a tightrope. They walked the tightrope throughout so much of this season. The fans should be thankful that that happened for entertainment value, but today they fell off the tightrope. Today they found the edge, and that they fell off the cliff, and the season is over, and now they move into the 2026 offseason where they can address some of those separation issues. They can let this defense develop a sense of continuity around healthy stars. Fred Warner will be back. Nick Bosa should be back from his ACL tear. They can add on that side of the ball if they want. I think they need to add at the safety position. A big question will be, does Robert Saleh get hired in this upcoming coaching cycle? Even if he does Gus Bradley take over as the 49ers defensive coordinator? How are they going to build on this year? Because there were promising rookie development performances for the 49ers. It was just impossible to evaluate this San Francisco defense as a unit after both Nick Bosa, Fred Warner, and Mykel Williams went down. Offensively, you've got your centerpiece. You've got an elite quarterback in Brock Purdy. That is beyond question now. Anybody who tries to put this loss on Brock Purdy or blame it on number 13 has absolutely no idea what they're talking about. He was running around. He was making miraculous plays today. You could even see the 49ers game plan early in this one. It went much better for them as far as moving the ball than it did in Week 18 with Ricky Pearsall back. They used Pearsall mainly as a decoy. He created some space underneath. Purdy was going underneath a lot to Tonjes and Christian McCaffrey. But unfortunately, the kick return for a touchdown put the 49ers behind the 8 ball against the team that was better than them. And the Jake Tonjes fumble essentially did them in against the team that was better than them. The 49ers had to have the greasy plays go their way. Instead, the greasy plays went against them. That's a downstream effect of injuries. George Kittle probably doesn't fumble where Jake Tonjes did. Separation-wise, the 49ers finished dead last in 2024, and here in 2025, they were close to last. By the end of this game, at least the metrics for this game in particular and the one in Philadelphia last week against another good defense, also the worst separating team. The 49ers finished with, I think Purdy is arguably the best quarterback in the game. He's one of the top 3. The metrics all say that, the tape says that, but they finished this season with a top-level elite quarterback, but with the worst supporting cast around Brock Purdy because of all the injuries. So you spend the offseason in general, big picture view, replenishing around him. The offensive line, I think, was solid for the 49ers. That was 2 thumbs up this year. They took a step forward in pass protection, but they need Purdy and McCaffrey to have some support that they obviously did not have in this game. And they didn't even have that much support in the game against Philadelphia. Purdy had to make magic last week. I mean, again, this was a tightrope act for Brock Purdy week in and week out. He pulled this to amazing heights this year, considering the fact that it started with a turf toe injury here at Seattle. And it ended after 1 playoff win. The Rams, the 2023 Rams, the LA team that was year 1 of the roster reset that the 49ers based their roster reset on in this crazy offseason where they lost a lot of guys and decided to get a lot younger. Those Rams went 10-7. This 49ers team went 12-5 in the regular season. Those Rams lost in the first round to the Lions on the road. This 49ers team went into Philadelphia and beat the defending Super Bowl champion Eagles. By any metric, this was successful. Brock Purdy notched another game-winning drive in the postseason. The 49ers entered this one heavy underdogs, 7-point underdogs, short rest. Everything was stacked against them, and we knew that unless everything went right for the 49ers, especially early, we knew that the 49ers were going to be up against it today, and they were. And that's reality, and there's no reason to cry in your cereal over this. If you're a 49ers fan, you might as well take this on the chin maturely, say that the Montana and the Rice Niners lost 49-3 in the playoffs against the New York Giants in 1986, and these 49ers, more depleted than those 49ers, lost 41-6. They got their asses kicked because that's how the math worked in this game. I really, really don't think that it's any more complicated than that. It is going to be an honor to cover this offseason because it's going to be exciting. You know, the Brandon Ayuk defection screwed the 49ers, but the good news for them is that they get some of the money back from Brandon Ayuk. I'll calculate exactly how much they get back over the course of the next few weeks as we turn the page. I'll share some of the salary cap room that the 49ers are going to be dealing with over the course of this offseason. I'll talk about the draft picks, where they're going to be loaded up with 4th-round compensatory picks in all likelihood in this 2026 NFL draft. I'll talk about the replenishment effort around the youngsters that got good snaps in 2024 and 2025. Guys like Upton Stout, guys like Marquise Siegel, who struggled today, but, got those playoff reps. And I think those are going to be invaluable for somebody with a good size, speed profile like Marquise Siegel. C.J. West, Alfred Collins. When Mykel Williams was in for this 49ers team over the first 9 weeks, they had the number 6 run defense by EPA in all of football. Mykel Williams, after he exited, the 49ers dropped to number 26 over the back half of the season against the run after he tore his ACL. So that was a hell of a start to his career, and the 49ers are going to get him back, hopefully at full strength next year. They just have to get guys back, stay the course. It was going very well for this team when they beat the same Seattle Seahawks team that beat them 41-6. 49ers walked in here at full strength or close to it, even without George Kittle and Brandon Ayuk, I would say, because Kittle got hurt in that game, and the 49ers won 17-13. The Seahawks ended up being historically good over the course of this season on both defense and special teams. And because the 49ers came in so shorthanded and because they couldn't get those breaks, starting with the special teams and that kick return at the start, this game unraveled. And it happens in the NFL basically every single time when parameters like the ones that the 49ers face today happen to be set against them. Yes, I did pick the 49ers to lose. I didn't think that it'd be by this much, but I also didn't predict every single greasy play to go against San Francisco. You can call it a Murphy's Law game. Stuff that broke in the 49ers' favor to help them get out from underneath the terrible injury situation. That stuff just all broke against San Francisco, starting with the kick return. I mean, they had the number 2 special teams unit behind only Seattle this season. And of course, when you give up a kick return for a touchdown, that is not a number 2 special teams performance. The Seahawks only blitzed 11% of the time, and they had a 47% pressure rate. So, and I don't think it was as much the 49ers offensive line, although there were times when Leonard Williams beat Pooney up the middle, and there were times, obviously, when the pocket collapsed on Purdy and he had to escape. But the 49ers just did not get any separation downfield, and that a lot of times will lead to a higher pressure rate because Purdy has to hold on to the ball for longer. But that was the highest pressure rate in the league this season that Brock Purdy faced, 47.4% the way that the 49ers attack moving forward, though, is to be able to space out the field and attack more quickly. Like, you have to be able to get rid of the ball more quickly, and that's not Purdy's fault. That is the weaponry's fault, and that is a downstream effect of what the 49ers lost over the course of this game. Brock Purdy ran 413 yards tonight. 413 yards on 33 dropbacks tonight. Tom Brady just said that that's almost like Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Remember when I think the Chiefs scored only 9 points in that 2020 season Super Bowl? Same kind of thing for Brock Purdy. And Mahomes came back from that, and he's won, what, 2 Super Bowls since then? So it's about building the arsenal around the 49ers. And I think, again, this came down to separation for San Francisco and the lack of it on the offensive side of the ball. There's also one play early on, and I think that Kyle Shanahan really dropped the ball. And this happens in games where you feel that you're up against it and you're facing a really steep uphill battle. But it was 3rd and 1. It was 7-0 Seattle. The 49ers had the ball in Seattle territory. It was 3rd and short. The right call was a quarterback sneak. Instead, the 49ers ran up the middle. They're overpowered. Interior running is not their strength. Stuffed by the Seahawks, probably Leonard Williams. I'm going to have to go back and check the tape. But it created 4th and 1. And then the 49ers threw on 4th and 1, and Purdy actually hit Tonjes to convert it, but it turns out that the officials gave Mike McDonald a timeout call right before the snap. And Shanahan wasn't happy about it. He thought that the timeout call came in too late and the officials shouldn't have granted it. Fine, you could argue that it was a bad job by the officials, but if you are Kyle Shanahan, you cannot compound the error. You have to stay the course and you have to be smart. And instead, he tried to run a college-style run option play to Kyle Juszczyk, the fullback, who pitched it back to Christian McCaffrey against literally the very, very best run defense that the NFL has seen, I think, in a few years. Just not intelligent play calling for the 49ers in that spot. And you know, that was one of the plays where if you don't get that one right, your team isn't good enough to overcome against an elite opponent like the Seattle Seahawks. And the result ends up being predictable. I see a lot of people talk about Joe Montana getting hurt in 1986. Guys, the 49ers got their asses kicked in 1986. Today, they didn't get their asses kicked because of Brock Purdy. He was the only one on that field that was delivering plus plays. If you put Sam Darnold behind the 49ers situation today, the 49ers would have gotten shut out. It would have been 60-0. Like almost any other quarterback in the NFL behind what the 49ers were operating today would have gotten shut out. Purdy is fine. He's at the top of the game. The 49ers have the most important piece figured out. That is the quarterback situation, period. Anybody who says any differently doesn't understand what they're watching. Now the 49ers have to build around that. They've got money to spend this offseason. They've got a defense to shepherd back to health. They've got Robert Saleh to monitor to see if he leaves or if he stays. But remember what this 49ers team was when it was healthy. It might have been the best in the league. It came in here into Seattle and won 17-13 in week 1. Ultimately, the magic ran out, but the 49ers still did super well for themselves this year. There's absolutely no other way to cut this. 13-6 amidst the mass injury event in a roster reset year, 2 thumbs up. 49ers are going to be back in year 2 of the salary cap reset, and you guys know that this channel is the best at covering the offseason, the salary cap, how the 49ers might maneuver strategically, and I've got a lot of good stuff in store for you moving forward. Shanahan on his sideline altercation with Ronaldo Green, nothing in particular, just coaching him on a certain play, certain technique, and just coaching aggressively. It was a frustrating day. They needed aggressive coaching. They'll need more aggressive coaching over the offseason as this team continues to grow. But there's historical precedent to show that the 49ers are in a good spot. It was house money entering Seattle. It's house money lost leaving Seattle. And now follow me for this 2026 offseason. It's going to be really, really fun. 49ers will spend some money, more money than they did last time in year 2 of this cap reset. So hit that subscribe button. We're still about to hit 100,000. I've appreciated you guys following along. It's been an honor to cover one of the great rides of resilience that we've seen, a team that has given us so much to watch and so much to enjoy from a football perspective. The 49ers certainly overcame a lot. Subscribe to the channel. We'll talk to you soon.